Kia ora whānau, and welcome to episode 4 of Get a Job and Get Healthy with Costas Enterprises. I am your host, Alex Costas from Costas Enterprises, and today it's sort of a double podcast day. The first one was about creating a cover letter, but it was a very short podcast, only about sort of 10 minutes. So this podcast will be a little bit longer. Now, in my previous podcasts, I say head to my blog for a bit more information about the stuff that we're going to talk about. Guess what? This podcast will not be any different. If you want a bit more information about what it is we're going to talk about, it is a good idea to head to my website. All the details are in the feed, in the description, so head that website and you'll be able to see all of my blog posts. What we're going to talk about now is something that a lot of people don't realise. So we've talked about the cover letter, we've talked about the CV. Now what we're going to talk about is preparing what we call star examples. So if you're not aware, star examples it's basically a way of answering interview questions. Now, when you're applying for a lot of these higher-end jobs, they will be asking you a lot of behavioural questions that they expect you to answer. Now, what I try to do in this podcast, I will try to teach you how to create your own star examples, explain the star system, and I actually have a little bit of a tip in regards to how we answer these questions, and we'll go down and we'll break down one actual question as well, and hopefully this will help you a little bit more. Now, if you have any questions, you can contact me. Please email me. You can find my details on my website, or you can contact me at doncostas@gmail.com. That's DONCOSTAS@gmail.com, and we can go through it together if you have any questions. Now, before you start, when you start applying for jobs and you get offered particular roles, before you get there, you have to go through an interview process usually. Now, the interview process is an interesting one because in some situations you have to do what they call a panel interview. Now, specifically with organisations in New Zealand, which is where I'm based, you will find that you will have a panel interview of about 3 people, and you'll have quite a few questions that you have to answer. A star example is a great way of being able to answer this while getting your skills across of how it is that you're actually answering it. So first and foremost, let's discuss what STAR stands for and what it is. So they call it STAR, and it stands for Situation, Task, Action, and Result. You may go, Alex, what does all that mean? I don't actually understand. Well, what they want you to do is, because you're being asked a behavioural question, you're being asked a question that wants you to demonstrate how you can show off a particular skill. Okay, and that's what the STAR system does. It allows you to demonstrate the skill that the employer is looking for. So behavioural questions will most likely appear in a panel interview, as we've said, and each interview will have about 8 questions, okay? And they will usually be split upon across the 3 people that are, or 4 people that are asking you. Now, it sounds a little intimidating, and it's meant to be. Like, they structure these interviews for that exact reason. But if you've sorted yourself out and you've got star examples ready, you can go in quite confidently and feel that you'll be able to actually answer a question well. So, Alex, can you give us an example? Okay, let me give you an example. An example of a behavioural question that they may ask could be something like the interviewer will just be sitting there going, so the next question we ask is going to cover flexibility within the workforce. Can you tell us a time when you were required to switch between different roles? What did you do? Did you have any obstacles? What were they, and how did you overcome these, and what was the result? So you'll notice that each question in the interview sounds quite long. Now, that question is usually actually 2 to 3 questions or 2 to 3 skills all packed into one question. And you go, okay, well, hang on, where does the star part come into it? Well, the star is when you actually start answering these questions. Now, I am a big believer that you should structure these star examples out before you even start applying for jobs. So, identify the skills that you're good at, identify the skills that we've talked about previously, and then create star examples based on those as a general. Okay, so for example, if you've got communication skills, you'd want to create one about when you used good communication skills or even bad communication skills that hindered your ability to do your job or helped you do your job. If you're talking about judgment or decision making, maybe you've had a situation where you were required to make a decision that was favourable or non-favourable. You will find that in some instances the employer will ask either or. They will ask either when were you able to do something or when did something stop you from doing it. Okay? So when we're answering the question, this is where the situation part comes in. So situation is, it's actually really simple. Okay, the first two are really, really simple to answer. The situation and the task. Situation is when you're being asked a question, you're advising the interviewer what the situation was that you're trying to show the skill. So to make it easy, you might almost semi-repeat the question back to them. So for example, you might say, a situation when I demonstrated flexibility within the workforce was, and then that's the end of the situation part. Because the next part is the task. What were you actually trying to show? So the task follows directly on from the situation. So for example, your situation and task answer might sound more like a situation when I demonstrated flexibility within the workforce was when I was tasked with working on two projects at the same time. These projects came with the following obstacles. Okay, now that first little part that you've got right there is your situation, and you're given your task, and it easily leads into the to the next section, which is actions. Okay, so the actions is where you have to be a bit more specific. Okay, these are the actions that you took to show that you did the skill. Now, some employers will want full details. So if you said, say for example, you were applying for a tech corporation and they wanted to know how your data entry was working, you would have to break down when you'd previously done data entry, what you actually had to do. So, it wouldn't be just I took this information from one side and put it into the computer. It would be, well, I gathered the information, I read it, I transcribed it, I then entered it into the computer, I checked it, and then I saved it based on the requirements. So you have to be as descriptive as possible. Now, there is some provisions on this. When I say descriptive as possible, they don't want to know a 15-minute story in regards to something that should only take 4 to 5 minutes to explain. So take a little bit of judgment. That's why I advise people to make their star examples before they even start attending any interviews, because if you've got them there, you know what you're talking about from the start. Okay, so what you might say is, so in the example that we were talking about with flexibility, your actions might be, well, while I was working on project A, I was managing my time by adding all incoming requests into my calendar. When I was tasked with project B, or an obstacle appeared, which was that now I had less time to dedicate to project A. The action I took, that I had a meeting with both managers and explained that I would be willing to work on both projects. However, they had to provide me with X, Y, and Z in order for me to meet the result. And then, of course, the R stands for result. So, this is the result of the actions above. It's a lot simpler now that you think about it, right? So the result is your way of providing the employer that you have the skills to do the job. So in this situation, after you've mentioned the actions, your result would be, the result of this meeting was that I had informed both managers that I was only one person, and that if they needed me to meet the deadlines, I would need them to provide me with all of the data so I can maximize my time by using my time management communication skills. I was able to be more flexible and adaptable in the workplace, and now I'm tasked with more responsibility. Now, you may have just heard the star examples. Don't switch off the podcast yet. The reason I say this, I add every time I do a star example, I add an extra letter at the end. And it's the letter L for what you learnt. So, if you finish at the end of R and you finish at the result, the employer switches off. Okay, they've heard the example, they're happy with the example, and they'll go straight on to the next one. If you want to make yourself memorable within the interview, add the L, what you learnt from the actual experience. Now, go with me on this, okay? So by saying what you learnt from the experience, not only are you reinforcing to the employer that you have the skill that they're actually looking for, it also shows that you have thought about what they're asking. So let that sink in. And you may be thinking, you can only use your star examples for work. No. You can use anything that you've done in your existence as an example to show that you meet these star examples. So if you've previously done volunteer work, or if you've previously done any kind of, maybe you worked in a sports club and that's how you built team management, well, those are skills that you gained across your life. So do not think that if you are creating a star example for a job description that you must stick to simply work. Now, I hope this podcast, again, it's a shorter one, but it's sort of part 2 of today's one. I hope it's helped you just a little bit. Okay? And if you do want more in-depth help, or maybe some personal help, as I've said before, feel free to contact me. I'm more than happy to help you identify what star examples. Now, I'm not going to create the star examples for you, because that's what I'm hoping you will do. But I might be able to look at your job and go, these are the skills that I can identify from what you've told me. Start thinking of examples when you can show these skills. But hopefully you've taken the time to do that yourself first. But otherwise, please feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe, all those good things. I really enjoy doing these podcasts, and I hope you enjoyed listening to them. If you would like further podcasts in regards to the star examples, please let me know. I'm more than happy to go more in depth in these particular subjects. Other than that, thank you for a great day. I hope you have a good luck. Hope you have a good day and good luck. And I will listen to you on the next one, or you'll listen to me on the next one. Have a great day. Bye.